Look, I've had this on my mind all week regarding the Carolina Panthers and the glaring vacancy in our tight end room. While Dan Morgan and Dave Canales have expertly addressed our pass rush and offensive line, the tight end position remains a major liability heading into a pivotal season. We are looking at potential trade targets in Cole Kmet and Dawson Knox to finally provide some real production at the spot. This situation comes down to two things: why our current depth is insufficient, and how an aggressive veteran acquisition could change everything. The deeper you look, the more to unpack. Subscribe and comment below. Let's break it down. The Carolina Panthers have officially kicked off training camp as of today, marking the final stretch of the offseason and the return of pads to the practice field. While the roster looks vastly improved after Dave Canales and the front office aggressively targeted our previous weaknesses, one glaring issue remains within the tight end room. We added Jaelan Phillips to solve our pass rush woes and brought in Devin Lloyd to bolster our secondary coverage, yet our trio of Ja'Tavion Sanders, Mitchell Evans, and Tommy Tremble combined for under 700 receiving yards last year. Now here's the thing about this specific personnel gap. Recent rankings from PFF's Dalton Wasserman and Max Chadwick highlight that we currently lack anyone who qualifies as a top 32 talent at the position. This reality has left many of us questioning if this oversight is a lapse in judgment or a calculated move that the experts simply haven't revealed yet. While veteran options like Cole Kmet or Dawson Knox could immediately transform our offense, trading for them would require navigating complicated cap situations and asset costs. Kmet appears to be the most realistic trade target, potentially costing us a fourth-round pick, whereas Knox remains an entrenched part of the Buffalo plans. The fan base is clearly torn, oscillating between appreciation for our revamped offensive line and deep anxiety regarding our ability to move the chains through the middle of the field during this pivotal season. We have addressed the trenches and secondary with surgical precision, yet the passing game remains incomplete without a reliable presence over the middle. The big question we must confront as these workouts intensify is whether David Tepper and the front office are truly comfortable rolling into September with this current group, or if a desperate last-minute trade is already being negotiated behind closed doors to save our aerial attack. The most staggering reality for us as Carolina Panthers fans is that our tight end production remains stuck in the past, despite an otherwise masterful roster reconstruction this offseason. We have successfully addressed our pass rush through the addition of Jaelan Phillips and fortified our linebackers with the arrival of Devin Lloyd. Yet the tight end room appears neglected by comparison. The truth is that our current trio of Ja'Tavion Sanders, Mitchell Evans, and Tommy Tremble failed to combine for even 700 receiving yards last year, a statistic that looms large given the high stakes of this pivotal 2026 season. Historically, this team has struggled to find a reliable middle-of-the-field threat, often settling for stopgap solutions that failed to materialize into consistent scoring threats in critical moments. Behind closed doors, David Tepper and Dave Canales likely view these internal options as developmental projects. Yet the lack of playoff-tested experience at the position suggests a philosophical disconnect between our front office vision and the immediate necessity of winning games. While other franchises are actively reshaping their offensive identities, our reliance on unproven commodities at such a vital position is a gamble we simply cannot afford. If the coaching staff maintains faith in this current depth chart, they are essentially betting that our new offensive line additions and defensive upgrades will offset the lack of a marquee tight end. We have seen this wait-and-see approach derail seasons in the past, and it feels like we are repeating those same errors. Trading for an established veteran like Cole Kmet, who has seen his target share diminish elsewhere, would provide a security blanket for our offense that we currently lack. This decision represents the difference between a team that competes for a division title and one that continues to search for its true offensive identity. So that covers the news, and I'll be straight with you, this is exactly where the rubber meets the road for the Carolina Panthers this season. This matters right now because while we have successfully plugged holes at tackle and pass rush, failing to address the tight end room threatens to stall our offense during this pivotal stretch. Adding a veteran like Cole Kmet or Dawson Knox changes the dynamic of our roster immediately. Currently, our internal group of Ja'Tavion Sanders, Mitchell Evans, and Tommy Tremble combined for under 700 receiving yards total, which simply does not cut it in a competitive league. By bringing in a proven contributor who ranks in the top 32 list released by PFF's Dalton Wasserman and Max Chadwick, we would finally give our quarterback a reliable safety valve. This move shifts our standing against division rivals, specifically providing us the necessary weaponry to convert third downs and keep the chains moving against tough defensive fronts. If we do not make this adjustment, we risk watching our playoff aspirations vanish in critical games where a tight end's presence in the red zone is the difference between a touchdown and a field goal. Trading for someone like Kmet would likely cost a 4th-round pick at best, a modest price for a move that could solidify our offense as a legitimate threat. When you look at the landscape of the conference, having a mismatch at tight end is how you exploit aggressive defenses that focus solely on the wide receivers. We have been precise with our roster building this offseason, checking every other box with intelligence and foresight. Now, it is time for Dan Morgan and Dave Canales to finish the job by securing a veteran who can elevate this passing attack and ensure that our hard work this offseason does not go to waste. Bolstering our tight end room is the final piece of the puzzle for a championship run, and targeting veterans like Cole Kmet or Dawson Knox could transform our entire offensive identity. The primary upside here is clear because both players offer immediate proven production that our current rotation simply cannot match. With the Panthers' existing tight ends combining for under 700 yards, adding a veteran presence would provide a much-needed safety valve for our quarterback and force opposing defenses to respect the middle of the field. However, we must consider the risk involved in trading draft capital for players over 27 years old, as we have already invested so heavily in building our foundation through the draft and key free agency signings. If these veterans fail to adjust to our scheme, we might regret sacrificing a 4th-round pick. According to PFF analysts Dalton Wasserman and Max Chadwick, both Kmet and Knox have earned their spots on the top 32 list, though the feasibility of these trades varies significantly. Here's the thing nobody wants to say. While the media insists both are equal targets, Buffalo's recent long-term commitment to Knox makes him a much harder acquisition than Kmet, who has seen his target share dip in Chicago. My honest take here is that while the hype surrounding a trade is exciting, we should exercise caution before mortgaging more future assets for a temporary fix. I believe that if Dan Morgan and Dave Canales truly feel our internal development is lagging, they will act. But we cannot afford to get desperate just because a name appears on a list. We have addressed every other critical need with precision, so let us hope the front office maintains that same disciplined approach rather than chasing a quick name for the sake of appearances during this pivotal 2026 season. When you weigh the precise offseason roster construction against the lingering vacancy at tight end, a clear picture of the Carolina Panthers emerges for the next several seasons. The bottom line here is that management has demonstrated a masterclass in aggressive, calculated team building that moves us away from past instability and toward a competitive, championship-ready window. As fans, we should feel genuinely optimistic about the trajectory of this organization, because for the first time in a long time, every major liability on the depth chart has been systematically erased through smart signings and draft capital. While the current tight end room remains an outlier, the potential acquisition of a seasoned veteran like Cole Kmet or Dawson Knox would provide the necessary stability to round out an otherwise formidable offense. Having a legitimate playmaker at that position is the missing piece required to elevate our passing attack into the upper echelon of the league. If Dan Morgan and Dave Canales succeed in addressing this final need, we are looking at a roster that can compete with the best in the NFL. The organization has clearly prioritized winning now, and the investment in veteran leadership suggests that ownership expects deep playoff runs rather than simple incremental improvements. The direction is purposeful, the vision is transparent, and the results of this calculated risk-taking should manifest on the gridiron as soon as the season begins. With the current roster dynamics at play, would you prefer the front office pursues a trade for Cole Kmet or stays the course with our existing group of tight ends? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Keep pounding. I'll see you in the next one.